sleep in space, we should just kind of talk about sleep in general. Does anyone here sleep?
No.
Oh, good.
Maya doesn't.
Not really. Uh-oh, that can be a little problem.
I got 3 hours of sleep.
So do you guys know why we sleep? Who can tell me why we sleep?
So we can get energy.
Excellent.
So your brain
Very, very good. That's right.
So your brain can grow.
So it's what?
Grow.
Very good. Excellent. So what happens if we don't sleep well? So you don't sleep too well. What happens? Do you get grumpy?
I get headaches a lot.
Okay. Headaches. So your body doesn't feel good sometimes? Yeah. What about you? Kind of cranky? Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. Is it harder to really pay attention in school when you're not having good
Yeah.
sleep? Yeah. Yeah. That's, these are all things that we found out. Happens when people aren't getting good sleep. It's hard to pay attention. It's hard to sit still. It's hard to get along with your brothers, your sisters, your teachers, your mom and dad. So you can be more grumpy, moody, maybe anxious, depressed. Guess what? They also found that teenagers can take more risks. Okay, so like driving or maybe trying drugs and alcohol and stuff that people like you guys know you shouldn't do. But then if as you get to be teenagers, sometimes it's hard if you're not getting good sleep and you're grumpy, and it's you might take more risks and such. Okay, and then when you're old like me, if you don't get good sleep, it's really hard for your heart and your brain, and you can have all kinds of bad problems happen, like heart attacks and strokes. And have you guys ever heard of high blood pressure? Yeah, high blood pressure, diabetes. Anyone heard of diabetes? Yeah. So these problems can all be associated with bad sleep. Okay. So it's really important that we try and get good sleep. So, being that we're 9 to 12, how much sleep do you guys think we need? Let's go around the room. How much sleep do you think we need a night?
9 to 10 hours.
Great.
8 hours.
Okay.
8 hours. At least 12 to 14 sometimes, depending
Okay.
on. Probably like 9 to 11 hours.
Okay.
Probably like 10 to 12.
Okay.
Probably like 11 to 12 hours.
Okay.
Probably like 8 to 10.
Okay.
Probably like 11 to 10.
Okay.
I was going to say 8 to 9.
All right. These are all very, very, very good thoughts. And guess what? You're all essentially right. Pretty much. Okay. I'm going to hand around a paper. Okay. We can hand some going both ways. I'll keep one. And so we did this thing. There were a bunch of us from all over the country who got together, and we looked at a whole bunch of studies. Do you guys know what studies are? They're research looking at things that, good and bad and ugly things that happen. And this is what we came up with, is how much sleep kids need, okay? So can you guys look at what age group are you? Can you follow that down? You're kind of in that 6 to 12-year-old, right? And so we're looking at 9 to 12 hours. So you guys were right on. This is good. I like to hear this. Because sometimes I hear people say, oh, I only need 5 or 6, okay? And what happens if we don't have that much? Just like we talked about, hard to do well in school, hard to concentrate, hard to sit still, hard on our bodies, okay? So, very important, bless you, at you guys' age, aiming for that 9 to 12 hours. So does that mean we stay up half the night, sleep half the day? No. Does that mean we take big naps during the day? No.
like
We
that.
want to have all our sleep at night. We call it being consolidated at night. And let's talk a little bit about that. What tells our body that we should sleep during day? Not sleep during the day and sleep at night? Do you guys know? This is a hard one.
Melatonin.
Very good. Oh my gosh. You guys are blowing me away. So what is melatonin? You've heard of it. Do you know what it is? You can phone a friend too.
We were talking about it yesterday. Isn't it something that helps you sleep?
Very good.
Well, it just helps you sleep. It's like a medicine that helps you sleep if you have trouble sleeping.
Very good.
It's a chemical in
Yeah.
your body that it's like your body's sleep clock, and So it helps your body feel tired at night and awake during the day.
Oh, I love it. You guys are so smart. Yes, so your brain, there's a little part of your brain that makes melatonin, and we call it a dark hormone because it's a chemical or substance your body makes at night when it's dark to help you sleep well. Okay? Now, sometimes people don't have good melatonin on their own, and sometimes we have to take a little bit of melatonin to help. So some special conditions, people don't have good melatonin, okay? But in general, everyone here makes melatonin. You, I'm wondering about if you're not sleeping good, but to help with good sleep, okay? So what are some of the things, so we called it a dark hormone, what are some of the things that would keep the melatonin coming out at night?
Staring at blue light.
Very good. So lights in general, right, can be a problem. So you guys, and summer wasn't that long ago. Like in the summer, was it easier to stay up late than during the school year when it's dark at night? Mm-hmm. Right? Because the sun's out and your body's thinking, oh, I'm supposed to be still awake yet, mm-hmm. right? And our melatonin's not coming out. Mm-hmm. So yes, natural sunlight, but also blue lights or backlighting from computers, tablets, video games, TVs, okay? That's a huge problem. So, like I said, I'm old. When I was a kid, we didn't have these issues, okay? When it started getting dark, our mom said, go to bed, and we went to bed and slept like a rock because we didn't have phones and TVs. So that's a really big problem. But here's the thing, you know how we talked about sleeping at night versus during the day? It's because of this thing called the circadian rhythm, okay? Mm-hmm. And again, that's our natural clock that's made by our brain, and it's all about light and melatonin, okay? So those are huge things. So let's flash forward to if you were going to space, okay? What might be a problem if you were in space?
It's like all messed up because of like you're like in different places and like the sun's everywhere and you're everywhere and it's like all messed up.
Very good. It's messed up. It's an artificial environment, right? Mm. And so outside it may be dark except for stars and stuff going past, but inside it's probably bright and light like this and lots of computers and noises. And so in space, people can have a problem with their circadian rhythm or their natural clock and their melatonin kicking out, okay, or having that effect, okay? What's another problem that might affect sleep in space?
It's not comfortable.
Very good. How's it not comfortable?
It's just like a little sleeping bag, pretty much.
I like your position.
In a tiny room.
Yeah, exactly. And
It's like this little box type thing with the sleeping bag on the wall.
yeah,
And then you have like toys and there's like a little computer.
yeah, yeah.
It doesn't look very advertising. Like it's not like a regular room. Like you can't really move around very much.
Yeah.
You're kind of stuck in one position for the rest of the night, and it looks uncomfortable.
Good points. Yes.
It's kind of like you're standing up while you sleep.
Yeah.
Right.
You're like strapped to the wall.
Very good. Yes.
And I'm pretty sure like the sleeping bag, it's like on the sleeping bag because it's just like your face that's showing.
Uh-huh.
What if you get hot? Squeezing you and like claustrophobic or something.
Right, right. Yes.
Going off what Rhea said, they can't feel when they're standing up because they don't have gravity.
Right.
And if they are claustrophobic, that could be a problem.
Yes. Yes. Good.
You might have problems with body temperature management.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because like if you're like hot in your sleeping bag, you can't just unzip it and then you just start flying.
There
everywhere.
you go.
So if you're too hot, then that sucks.
Yeah, that makes it pretty uncomfortable. These are great points. I mean, can you imagine? So someone trying to sleep when it's dark out, but then the inside it's all light and there are machines and computers and stuff going on, and they have no gravity. So you guys might have seen a picture, but I copied off a picture for you. Some of the pictures had people in little pods, like you were talking about, like little closets, and others had something like this. But you guys can push this around, and just like you said, there's this darn sleeping bag where you're strapped to the wall because there's no gravity, right? And so they have to be strapped to the wall. They can't, get in a real comfortable position, because you guys like to move around and find a good position,
I
right?
would just sleep in the bathroom.
In the bathroom, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's another issue. What if you had to get up to go to the bathroom at night? That's kind of a big deal. And there are bright lights and all kinds of machines going on. So that's kind of an issue. So here on Earth, though, sleep mask, that's a great idea. That's a thing we can do to help us have better sleep, so that we can make the room naturally dark, where what we see is dark. We talked about not having screens and videos, and so my youngest child is 17, and he keeps telling me, Mom, all my friends have TVs in my room, in their room. Why can't I have a TV? And I said, well, it's because your mom loves you so much. I know that's silly, but seriously, we need to try and keep TVs and video games and phones and any kind of thing that has a backlight. And people say, well, but that's how I read. They'll say, well, what should I do at night? And I'll say, well, why don't you just read and relax and settle down? And I'll say, well, that's how I read. It's on a Kindle or on a tablet.
Makeshift.
That's right, makeshift. Just have a low light and just a good old-fashioned book.
That's what I do. I read.
Well done. That's
I
excellent.
have a whole bunch of
Sometimes reading and just
Oh, now that's another thing, because that can get your mind kind of worked up, right? If you're thinking, oh my gosh, I have this math test. So it's always good to have a little period of relaxation before we get into bed that doesn't involve lighting or games or homework or stressful things, but just kind of relaxing and soothing. What other things might impact our sleep? What other things that could cause us to have bad sleep?
stress.
Very good, as you get kind of wound up and it's hard to settle everything. Yeah,
nightmares.
good. Yeah, very good. Sometimes those wake us up, and then it makes it so you don't want to go back to sleep, and makes it so you don't want to think about those things. Yep. What a
Sleep paralysis.
Oh, wow. That's a big thing. You've learned about sleep paralysis. Wow. So tell me what you know about sleep paralysis.
I believe it's where you just. I can't remember if I might be mixed up with something else, but it's when you kind of lucid dreams, and so you think you're woken up and then you just imagine things.
Very good. So usually it's when you wake up. Sometimes people have it when they're falling asleep, but instead of their whole body being asleep, they might be in what we call REM, or dream state of sleep. And what's really cool about REM is that our body's paralyzed. So if we wake up out of REM, then if we're not fully awake, but yet our body's still paralyzed, we'll have sleep paralysis. And it can be kind of scary for people. But here's the secret. You know the number one reason we see sleep paralysis? It's in people who aren't getting enough sleep. And so then their alarm goes off to get them up for school in the morning, and they're like, oh, I can't move, because they're in the middle of really good REM sleep, okay? And so if we get enough sleep, usually we won't. Okay?
I don't remember what it's called, but it's when it starts when you sleep. And then you don't want to sleep because you might do something bad.
Very good. So that's called REM sleep behavior disorder. You guys are very advanced. Oh my gosh. So this is something that we usually see in older people, okay? But we can see it in kids. But you're right. Instead of being paralyzed in REM, people might have a condition that makes them not be paralyzed. And so if they have a scary dream, like say a bear's chasing them, they might chase and they might fight that bear. And I have a silly story to tell you. So my husband works in the hospital, and he called me one morning and he said, gee, I have the nicest little old lady. She's 92 years old, and she's so sweet, and she feels so bad because she beat up her husband while she was sleeping. And she beat him up so bad she broke her arm because she had kind of weak bones. She's a 92-year-old lady. And she has no remembrance of this. She didn't remember doing it. But she said she feels terrible. But guess what? She had REM sleep behavior. So she didn't remember it. but you're right, some people, she felt really sad, and so then she was kind of scared to go back to sleep again. Yeah, that's a good thing that we don't have to deal with a whole lot at your age, so that's nice.
I've seen my dog do that.
Okay, yes, like running and,
yeah.
yes, that's
I've
pretty
seen Chloe
funny.
do
Yes.
I've also seen my cat do that.
Chloe, like anxiety.
Chloe the dog.
Yes, anxiety and stress can definitely impact sleep.
And sometimes my dad wakes me up while I'm reading. Sometimes I fall asleep,
Yeah.
and then that's why I have completely no memory of any of that.
Yeah, because you were sleeping a little bit, but probably not really well. You were in between, so, yeah. Speaking of dogs and cats, do you think they could impact our sleep at all?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If they're being loud.
Well, even if they're moving. We found that there was actually a new study just this last summer where if they're moving on your bed or leaning up against you or any kind of that can jiggle and wake you up. So, yeah. So we try and keep our pets out of our rooms. So.
What
Well-
if you have a hamster?
If they're running on the wheel or if they have a light, that can be a little bit of an issue.
Well, they're also nocturnal, so.
Right. Yes.
Just kind of building up the stress one. Like my sister, she's like in high school and she
Yeah.
she has like a lot of homework and stuff, so she stays up late, and I feel like she gets like headaches and stuff when she
Yeah.
goes to sleep because like she's like trying to force like math and like all
Yes,
this
yes.
stuff at night 'cause she has to finish it and stuff.
Yes, and it's stressful trying to get, and she's probably not getting enough sleep too, right? If she's staying up, so more headaches. And you know, the other thing that's interesting about teenagers, and you guys might deal with this some as you're getting a little bit older. You have a little bit more time, but what happens is, you know how we talked about our circadian rhythm, or the clock that our brain sets up, telling us to sleep at night and stay awake during the day. So when you start being teenagers, that clock shifts a little bit. Okay. So, say, like, at your age, your mom says, hey, you could stay up on New Year's to watch it turn midnight and the bell, you know, and all the celebrations, and you go, yay, but then it's hard to stay up. But how about your sister? How about she stays up till midnight and then some, right? Piece
Yeah,
of
she
cake.
stays up like so late. She stays up until, like till 5, and I go to sleep at like 4 or something.
Oh.
Because, like, I get so tired.
Oh, that's late. Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, so that's another issue that happens that we have to be aware of, is that sometimes there's a shift in that circadian rhythm where it makes it harder to fall asleep. So we have to try that much harder to have bright light in the morning, not at night, get all our work done and our stress out before we go to sleep, and try and keep a regular schedule. Because sometimes what we'll see is that teenagers, they'll fight through the week at school, and then guess what? Does your sister stay up really late on Fridays and Saturdays?
Well, my sister, not really, because like she like,
Okay.
divides it up between the weekends sometimes, but she stays up like kind of late. Like I think last night she stayed up like until like 12 or something.
Yeah.
To do
Because sometimes we'll see when kids get to have a weekend, then they'll stay up till 2 in the morning having fun, then they'll sleep till noon, and then they're all messed up with their sleep. So, and that can happen in space too, right? Because our circadian rhythm can be really thrown off in space. Yes.
Usually when I stay up like really late, I can't, like my eyes start closing.
Yeah. They feel that heavy, and don't they start feeling so, it's just, yes, and that's a good point. And that, what does that tell you? It's time to go to sleep, right? I
And you're
love
like, your eyes are closing down, but you're still trying to watch.
it.
Watch your Netflix.
Right.
No,
Yeah.
this is the best part.
And that's why we know that if we have a regular bedtime, we tell our bodies, okay, at this time, everything else, it's time to sleep. Okay, our bodies love it when we have a set time to sleep. They just love it. And that's what they try and do in space, is they try and put their workday in, and they have the same bedtime every night and the same get-up time every day. Yes.
Here's one story. Like I think on New Year's, I have a cousin. He's like 6 years old.
Yeah.
So like I feel like he's probably like super tired and stuff. And so I saw him close his eyes and he slept. And then he just started like he just woke up like it was kind of like he's trying to force himself to wait until like the countdown and stuff. He's, like,
He was
10
trying so hard, right?
It was funny though because he's like
Yeah. I'm here. I'm awake. Yes.
See, what I do is I try like be in the bed and trying to sleep at 9 so that I'm at least asleep by 9:30 so that I can get up at 6:30. But then, you see, like I don't fall asleep. It just doesn't happen.
Okay.
So then
okay.
I look at the clock and it's like 9:42 and I'm not asleep.
Oh, and that can get frustrating, can't it? Yeah. So it's good that you're having that good routine. That's really important. And then I'll bet you'll find good things that help relax you and settle you, like reading and breathing and thinking pleasant thoughts. That can really help a whole lot. So sometimes people have bad sleep problems that can get in the way of sleeping, and I'm going to send these around. So sometimes even if people are in bed at the right time and they're falling asleep, sometimes their sleep isn't good. So what kind of things might happen that keep people from having good sleep? We talked about the dog, the cat. What about something in someone's body? Has anyone ever heard the parents snore?
Yeah. My grandpa does.
Give me an example of what it sounds like.
He goes,
She's so tired.
he goes like that.
And what happens sometimes are there like little
Yes!
and so when that happens, what happens is our brain wakes up, right? And so if that's happening throughout the night, we're probably not getting really good sleep, okay? So if someone's having problems with bad snoring, that can mean that there's a problem with breathing and sleep. Okay. Yes. It's called, you are. Yeah,
That's why my
so
dad needed
impressed.
to have a like sleep thing.
Yes, a sleep study.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Yes. Yes.
Sometimes when my brother's sick, he does a high pitched snore.
Okay, like a. Yes, that tells us that there might be some breathing problems going on, right? Yes. We talked about other things that might happen, like bad dreams. Does anyone know anyone who's a sleepwalker? Yeah.
No, I'm not. I never used to be a sleepwalker.
No, when you were
No, I never.
Yes.
I didn't. I know. I didn't.
That's why they put the
Stop it! I didn't ever used to be a sleepwalker.
So
You
here's
were the
thing.
sleepwalker. Stop it! I
Sometimes
wasn't
people
a
don't
sleepwalker.
remember when they have this sleepwalking. So I've heard all kinds of silly things, and I'm going to ask if any of you guys have a silly story. You want to hear my silly story?
Yeah.
I had one little boy whose mom got so upset because whenever he had to go potty, guess what? He'd go over to the closet and go potty. He thought he was in the bathroom. He was sleepwalking. Any other silly stories about sleepwalking?
Oh, one time I was sleepwalking. My dad's on this way. I don't know. But I walked into my parents' room, and for some reason there was a cake make spot next on my dad's nightstand. So I took
Maybe
it.
he was sleepwalking, right?
So I took it. Dumped out the bag.
Oh, no.
I took the bag out of the box, put it on the nightstand, and just brought the box out onto the counter, and then just went back to bed.
Oh, and you probably didn't remember that in the morning, and your mom and dad are like, what were you doing, right? That's so silly. That may be why we don't remember episodes too.
One time at camp, so at my camp, there's like if you stay in like a specific place, there's like dorm rooms next to each other.
Yeah.
Someone came out of their room.
Oh my god.
And then they came in mine.
Oh.
And they're just like, why are you in my bed? Who's in my bed? They're like pushing me. I'm just like, oh,
I'm in my bed.
I was so scared.
Wait, what's this?
That was my third year to camp.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's
So
funny.
Yeah, you weren't there.
Okay.
Oh, it's probably good you weren't there. Right? That sounds scary.
I was like scared.
This one's about sleep talking.
Yes.
I had a sleepover with my friend, and
Yeah.
so like she went to sleep before me because she 5 minutes before me.
Yeah.
She's like really fast sleeper, so I came in after her, and I was getting into the bed,
Yeah.
and then she's like, stop.
Oh.
So I'm just like, what happened? And then she was like talking to somebody, and she was like, stop, don't do that, I'm mad. And then she was talking to me because it was dark, so I'm just like, what did I do?
What did I
I'm
do?
so
I'm trying to
scared.
stop. Oh, that's so funny.
One time we were in a hotel. I sleep talk a lot, and so in the middle of the night my dad was up for some reason.
Yeah.
I just screamed booyah.
That's pretty silly. Oh. So these are all, things that can happen in people's sleep that could be a sign that maybe there's a little problem with sleep. So have you guys ever heard what we do when we look at people's sleep to study them? You had mentioned that your dad had a sleep study.
My dad had a
Yes,
sleep
and your dad had a sleep study too.
I've had a sleep study.
Okay, well, I'm going to send you guys around a picture book that talks about what we do here when we do sleep studies. And I want you to turn to page, let's see here. Let's look at page 10 first. So when someone comes in, oh, I'm sorry, did I not give enough?
We can share. That's fine.
Okay, so when someone comes in for a sleep study, they get lots of wires and special, what we call monitors, to help us look at what they look like when they're, or to help us look at what's going on where they're sleeping. So we look at their brain. So we always put the teddy bear first because that's always a little bit less scary. We look at their brain waves, we look at breathing patterns, and so we glue wires all over their head, their face, on their legs. They wear stretchy belts, and then when they get ready to go to sleep, we add more stuff. So if you look at page 16, isn't that silly? But believe it or not, people can sleep with all those wires and stuff on. This one's probably down here on the left. We put a special nose thing in. It doesn't go way far, but just in the outside to help us look at people's breathing. And so this is what we do when we do a sleep study. The other thing that we do is we have people's moms or dads stay with them so that they feel better sleeping here. And then we also have a video camera so we can watch and see what's going on when someone's breathing or sleeping. And one of our friends watches from a separate room. Again, it's like another control room, okay? And they can tell what's going on, or if they have to adjust some wires or special things, they come in and adjust those for people while they're sleeping so that we can get a good study. You had mentioned your dad's on CPAP. That's what this is. It's a special machine to help people breathe. But if you guys want to take a couple steps over here,